Do you remember those talking dolls from when you were a kid? The ones you could record your voice on, and they repeated back to you. They were supposed to be fun, a little companion. But what if the doll started talking on its own? What if it started repeating words it heard ... from somewhere else? That's what happened to Liam. It all started with a simple gift for his daughter, a cute little talking doll with a sweet voice and a tiny pink dress. His daughter absolutely loved it. She'd carry it everywhere, whispering secrets into its little plastic ear. And the doll would faithfully repeat them back in its tinny synthesized voice. It was all innocent fun until it wasn't. One night Liam was working late in his home office. The house was quiet, the only sound the soft tapping of his keyboard. It was almost 3 a.m. when he heard it. A small, familiar voice drifting from down the hall. It was the doll. But it wasn't repeating his daughter's giggles or a nursery rhyme. This time, it said something new, something chilling. In a voice that was no longer just a recording, but something colder, it whispered, "He's in your room." Liam's blood ran cold. He froze, every muscle in his body tensing. He told himself it was just a glitch, a malfunction. Maybe his daughter had recorded something from a movie and he hadn't heard it before. But the words echoed in his mind, feeling less like a playback and more like a warning. Slowly he pushed his chair back and crept out of his office. The hallway was dark, shadows stretching and twisting in the moonlight filtering through the windows. He moved toward his daughter's room, his heart pounding against his ribs like a drum. He pushed the door open just a crack. His daughter was fast asleep, her chest rising and falling rhythmically. The doll was sitting on the nightstand beside her, its glass eyes staring blankly into the darkness. There was no one else there, just a little girl, sleeping peacefully. He let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. It was nothing, just his tired mind playing tricks on him. He started to back away, ready to dismiss the whole thing and go to bed. But then the doll spoke again. This time the voice was louder, more distinct, as if it was right next to his ear. Closer now. Liam jumped back, his heart leaping into his throat. He stared at the doll, its painted smile seeming to mock him in the dim light. That was it. Malfunction or not, he wasn't taking any chances. He stormed into the room, snatched the doll from the nightstand, and marched straight out the front door. He didn't care if it woke the neighbors. He lifted the lid of the large trash can by the curb and tossed the doll inside, slamming the lid shut with a satisfying thud. He stood there for a moment, listening, but heard only the sound of his own ragged breathing. Problem solved. The next morning, Liam woke up feeling a little foolish. He'd let a child's toy get the better of him. He went to make coffee, the events of the previous night already feeling like a strange dream. When his daughter came into the kitchen, she was unusually quiet. "What's wrong, sweetie?" he asked. She just looked up at him with big sad eyes. "Dolly was sad last night," she said. "You left her all alone in the dark." Liam frowned. "What are you talking about?" He followed her back to her room, a sense of dread slowly creeping back, and there it was. Sitting right in the middle of her perfectly made bed, smiling its vacant plastic smile. The talking doll. Its little pink dress was clean, not a speck of garbage on it. It was impossible, he knew where he'd put it. He had taken it out himself. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the closed door, listening. The silence of the house was heavy, suffocating. Just as he was about to convince himself it was all in his head, he heard it again. A sound that would haunt his nightmares for years to come. It wasn't words this time. It was a laugh. A high-pitched, childish giggle that held no joy, only cold, cruel mockery. Then the voice came, dripping with a possessive, chilling familiarity. "Don't leave me alone again, Daddy." Daddy. It had never called him that before. It was his daughter's word. It was using his daughter's word for him. That was the final straw. A primal fear mixed with a father's protective rage washed over Liam. He wasn't going to live in fear of a toy. He grabbed a hammer from his toolbox in the garage. His hands were shaking, but his resolve was firm. He burst into his daughter's room. She was still asleep, thankfully undisturbed. The doll sat on the nightstand, its eyes seeming to glint in the sliver of light from the hallway. Without a second thought, Liam brought the hammer down, again and again. The sound of shattering plastic filled the room. He smashed it into dozens of pieces, scattering its limbs and torso across the floor. But it wasn't enough. He scooped up the fragmented remains, carried them out into the backyard, and threw them into his fire pit. He doused them in lighter fluid and struck a match. The plastic melted and burned, twisting into grotesque shapes before turning into a black charred mess. He watched until the last ember died out, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. It was over. Finally, it was over. The next morning, a gut-wrenching sound shattered the quiet of the house. It was his daughter, crying. Not just crying, but sobbing, a sound of pure distress that made Liam's stomach drop. He ran to her room, his mind racing, fearing the worst. She was sitting on the floor, cradling something in her hands. As he got closer, he saw what it was, the doll's head. It was perfectly clean, untouched by the hammer or the fire. The painted cheeks were rosy, the blonde plastic hair was neat, and a smile was still plastered on his face. As his daughter held it up to him, its eyelids, which had been scorched and melted just hours before, blinked slowly. One slow, deliberate blink. And then the voice returned. Not from a speaker, but from the head itself, a voice that was no longer tinny, but deep and ancient, a voice that resonated not in the air, but in his very soul. It looked right at him, its glass eyes boring into his. Now, it said, its smile widening impossibly. Now you're my toy. Some things are not meant to be played with. They are patient. They wait. They watch. They listen. And when you think you've finally gotten rid of them, that's when they truly begin to play with you, forever. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more tales that will keep you up at night, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. We'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.